In this video, we're going to learn how to solve one variable equations like 4x plus 7 equals 8x minus 6. This should be a review of 8th grade year, so we're just kind of go over the tougher problems and kind of make it familiar with you again. Down below is your objectives, which you should be writing on the top of your page. So we're going to learn how to solve variables when the variable's on one side, when the variable's on both sides, when we have fraction equations, and also the special solutions, which there are 2 of them. Alright, so kind of remember from last year, when you're solving equations, you want to think of inverse operations. So adding and subtracting are inverses of each other. Multiplying and dividing are also inverses of each other. And also when you are solving equations, you're trying to isolate the variable. And isolate just means that you're getting it by itself. So I just want something like x equals, or y equals, or a equals, depending on what variable I give you. So looking at A, this is a very basic form. When I solve equations, I like to draw a line to kind of show that I have 2 sides. 2x minus 11 is on one side and 6 is on the other. So on this, I'm trying to isolate x. So I need to do inverse operations. So I have minus 11. So I am going to add 11 to both sides. So I'm left with 2x equals 17. Opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. There I get my answer. And you can put your answer in 3 ways. You can do 17 over 2. You can give me it as a mixed number, which is 8.5. Or you can give me as a decimal. Whichever one you prefer is fine with me. I will accept all 3 answers. So on B, very similarly, we have a plus 3, so I'm going to minus 3. So P divided by 7, and then negative 12 plus negative 3, 2 negatives, means we just have higher or lower numbers, so negative 15, and then I'm dividing by 7, I'm going to times by 7, so P gives me negative 15 times 7 is negative 105. Keep in mind, what's nice about solving equations is that you can take your number and plug it back in to see if it works. So if I plug negative 5 back in, that should give me negative 15 plus 3, which is negative 12. So I know this is my correct answer. It's called checking your solution. So in C, this is our first problem when the variables are on both sides. So I need to move the entire term. And to do that, we're going to use addition and subtraction. So the 6x is positive, so I'm going to minus 6x. Now you could move the 4x, however, it would cause you to do one more step, and students tend to get confused because you're left with nothing over on the side, which is 0. So we have 4x minus 6x, which is negative 2x. 6x minus 6x is 0. So I have 0 minus 18, so negative 18. Divide by negative 2, and x equals 9. Again, feel free to pause the video at any time and do the problems ahead of time and check your answers to see if you did them right. Alright, so I have 5x times 2x minus 3. Now, right here, this is something we call the distributive property when you're multiplying to both, because 5 times 2x minus 3. So you might recall your teachers drawing little arrows to say we are multiplying to both. So I get 10x minus 15 equals 7x plus 6. So I have variables on both sides, so I generally like to move the smaller of the two, which is 7. So move 7x. It's positive, so I'm going to minus it. That gives me 3x minus 15 equals 6. Add my 15. And my 15 to this side gives me 3x equals 21. Divide by 3, x equals 7. Alright, so on E, we have combining like terms and the distributive property put into one. So here, it may not look like I'm distributing anything, but your minus seeing actually a 1. So I'm going to distribute a negative 1 through. So I have 4x minus 2x. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3 equals negative 7. So 4x and 2x are on the same side, so I'm just going to combine them. So I have 2x minus 3 equals negative 7. Add 3. So I have 2x equals negative 4. Divide by 2. X equals negative 2. Again, you can plug that in to check to see if that is your correct solution. So on F, we have 7x minus 8 all over 5. And this is one that generally gets students trouble because they don't quite sure what to do first. The 7x minus 8, both of them will be divided by 5. So the 5 is the one that actually needs to move first. So I'm going to times both sides by 5 since we're dividing by 5. Then I'm left with the numerator, 7x minus 8 equals negative 35. Move my 8 by adding 8. I get 7x equals negative 27. Divide by 7. So x equals negative 27 sevenths. Again, you can leave it as an improper fraction. You can make this a mixed number, which is negative 3 and 6 sevenths. Or you can give me the decimal, and then you just need to round to the nearest tenth. I don't need anything beyond that. So this, in this case, it is 3.857, so 3.9 as my final answer. And get in the habit of circling your answers, so it makes it easier for me to grade and for you to kind of go look back at later on. Right, so F is the one that gives the students the most trouble. It's just because it's fractions and students tend to shy away from fractions. But remember, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you need a common denominator. They need to be the same. And then we're going to use something called the reciprocal when we need to multiply or move, or when we're multiplying by a fraction to cancel it out. So I'm going to draw my sides. So first, I'm isolating F, so I need to move away from F, which is a 5, 6. The 5, 6 is positive, so I'm going to minus 5, 6, which makes 0. If I need to subtract these two, I need a common denominator. My common denominator between 2 and 6 is 6, so I don't need to change the 5, 6. I do need to make a common denominator, which again we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. So 2 times 3 is 6, so I get 3, 6, which is equivalent to 1/2 minus 5, 6. We don't change the denominators, so now I have a total of negative 2, 6. And then on the left side, I have negative 4/5 F. Now to cancel out when we're multiplying, you like, okay, I just need to divide, but students forget the rules of when dividing by fractions. So another trick to kind of help you out is that you want to multiply by the reciprocal. So you're going to switch the numerator and the denominator. So it is negative, and then instead of 4/5, I now have 5/4. This right here multiply together to be 1. So I'm just left with F on this side. So then over here, I'm going to multiply by negative 5/4. When we multiply across. So I get negative 2 times negative 5, which is 10. 6 times 4, which is 24. Simplifying that down, 10 over 24, I can divide the top and bottom by 2. So I get 5/12 as my final answer. Alright, these last two are our special solutions. Something unique is going to happen in both of them. So on this first one, I need to combine like terms because I have two variables or two like terms on the same side. So d plus 3d is 4d minus 5. And I get 4d minus 5 over here. Now you might look by inspection that the two sides are exactly the same, which is important for this one, for the special solution. So I'm going to move my d's. And I'm left with negative 5 because this becomes 0, and so does this. They essentially cancel out. So I get negative 5 equals negative 5. Now negative 5 equals negative 5 is true. Well, because that is true, my answer is many solutions, which means I can be here for the rest of my life actually trying to find a number or trying to plug in numbers, and all those numbers are going to work. There isn't any real number that doesn't work. Now similarly on the bottom, and here I have my parentheses, so I need to use my distributive property. So I'm left with 15 minus 6w equals 10 minus 6w. Now here they are not exactly the same, so we're not going to get many solutions. But when I move my term, the variable 6w, this becomes 0, and so does this. So I'm just left with 15 equals 10. Now 15 does not equal 10. If you had $15 and your friend had $10, you do not have the same amount. So this is not true. So in this case, we write no solution. I can be here for the rest of my life trying to find a number that would make the two sides equal, and there is just not any. So this is, your final answer is no solution. So just kind of reviewing, remember when we're solving equations, we are isolating the variable using reverse or inverse operations. Remember your operations of fractions, common denominators, when you're adding and subtracting, you want to multiply by the reciprocal. And then there are also our special cases. If I get 6 equals 8, that means no solution. But if I get 6 equals 6, which is a true statement, then it is many or infinite solutions you might see. Just a reminder, make sure you do reflections, come up with your questions, so you can get credit for watching this video.